That's him skulking outside the apartment in Tampa.
After my daughter was born, right after we came back from hospital, he started complaining.
Then the family began smelling chemicals pervading the apartment. Everyone, including the baby, started getting sick.
This is one of those stories where when you hear it for the first time, you just can't believe it. You can't believe that there's these deranged people out here doing this type of behavior. And it gets so much worse. Before we even get into it, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'm glad to do it. Now, today we're going to talk about this PhD student who was so upset about the noise upstairs in his apartment building, the baby crying, that he took it upon himself to try to poison the family to get that baby to shut up. This guy is a sick, twisted, demented freak, to say the least. And he deserves to be behind bars. No more PhD for you.
Fences may make good neighbors, but cameras keep them honest. And when a family suspected a disgruntled neighbor might be behind the noxious fumes they kept smelling, they set up a camera. And Stephen Fabian says they were stunned by what they saw.
You are watching what cops say is a terrible crime committed by a brilliant chemist. First, he's seen filling a syringe with some sort of substance. Then he places the syringe under an apartment door.
I just want all of us to take a second and realize the situation here. Your wife or your girlfriend just had your baby. You guys leave the hospital. Everybody's proud, happy, just amazing and excited to start this family. You go back to your apartment, maybe a couple days, a couple weeks into bringing the baby home now. And the first thing you notice is one of your neighbors downstairs comes up to you and tells you, hey, can you keep the noise down? And you're like, hey, bro, I'm a first-time dad. I know it's a baby, but, these things happen. There's nothing I can really do. What do you want me to do? Shut the baby up by putting a muzzle over her? What am I going to do in this situation? I understand your frustration, but there's nothing I can really do. Babies cry. And then a couple days go by, the baby continues to cry. It is what it is. But then you notice these noxious gases start forming in your house. Like, what the hell is that smell? Now, it may be a stretch to assume that that's the neighbor, but that's the only person who has a problem with it. So maybe if you're quick-witted, you would assume, okay, maybe something's going on here. Maybe, it could be the stove, it might be the sink, the toilet, who knows? If this dude complained to me multiple times, we gotta start assuming some things here. Now, I know it's not always best to jump to conclusions and start assuming people's guilt, but at the same time, isn't it a little suspicious after this neighbor downstairs started complaining about the noise? We started smelling these gases. I would hate to assume somebody doing something so heinous, but at the exact same time, this is my child we're talking about. And I'm so glad the father jumped into action and started taking initiative to protect his family, because some people would have just assumed, oh, it's whatever. It's probably just a garbage truck downstairs driving around. Who knows?
What was your reaction when you saw your neighbor injecting this substance into your home? Umar Abdullah and his wife had just had a baby. Almost immediately, they say, their downstairs neighbor, then a PhD student in chemistry, began complaining about noise. That's him skulking outside the apartment in Tampa.
After my daughter was born, right after we came back from hospital, he started complaining.
Then the family began smelling chemicals pervading the apartment. Everyone, including the baby, started getting sick.
See, this is what pisses me off right here. This is what makes me believe this man deserves to be under the jail. This is potentially attempted unaliving. This man tried to straight up unalive this child. He didn't give a damn about any type of consequences. He was just focused on his studies. His ass was inside trying to read, study. His parents were probably on him trying to make sure that he gets a PhD. He wants to become a doctor, whatever, a chemist. And he was like, that damn baby, I gotta go shut it up. He wasn't thinking in his right mind. Not only that, but if this man is supposed to take care of people, he's gonna be in hospitals or working with chemicals, or this dude's some weird, whacked out mastermind that would do something like this in the future, especially doing it to the baby. So he doesn't give a damn about adults. If they were messing with him, he would probably be injecting people with chemicals and try to unalive them as well. This dude from the start already had bad intentions. He must have been so stressed out. He had tunnel vision only for that PhD, where he truly thought in his right mind that it was a necessary evil to take out this little baby just so that he can have peace and quiet and study better. That is insane. I want you guys to realize how insane that is. Thinking that the necessary evil is to take out a child so that you can study better. Are you kidding me? This dude shouldn't have been around chemicals to begin with. Somebody should have gave him a psychological test, and I guarantee he would have failed it.
He used to cough and subsequently she used to vomit.
Air conditioning ducts were cleaned, plumbers checked all the pipes leading to the apartment, and the landlord even replaced the water heater. But the noxious fumes became overwhelming, and that's when the new dad decided to install a hidden camera.
So as you heard, even the landlord got involved. They replaced the water heater, they checked the pipes, they made sure there was no leakage of any type of gas or noxious fumes, and still weren't able to find out where that smell was coming from. And this is the part that perplexes me. While living in apartments, I've had rowdy neighbors before, where you can hear the baby crying, you can hear people arguing, shouting, banging on the walls, or even playing loud music. But never have I ever thought, let me go put an end to this by putting some noxious gas or chemicals into their house. Let me go throw it in the air duct and hopefully the smell will go into the house. And while I was at that residence, I was going to college as well. And I was also working damn near 60 hours a week to help out with COVID relief because I was an essential worker and I was still going to school full time. I still had all my studies and everything I had to do. And not one time did I think I got to take somebody out because they're just making too much noise. I wouldn't even dare think of doing something like that because I know I would ruin my life if I got caught. The benefit does not outweigh the cost. But not only that, that's a lunatic, psychotic, psychosis mindset to unalive somebody, or at least attempt to, just so I can have some peace and quiet. That's not the right thing to do morally and ethically.
At first, the surveillance video caught just a glimpse of the suspect. The next day, when the camera was repositioned, this happened, and the terrifying truth came out. Initial toxicology reports from police say the substance being pumped into their apartment consists of two strong opioids, methadone and hydrocodone.
So as you see here, the dad bought a plant and ended up putting a spy camera inside of it. And when you really think about it, I bet this was his last hope, thinking that maybe somebody was getting into his house and then planting something. I know for a fact he didn't expect somebody injecting something under the door sill because the action itself is so bizarre, you wouldn't assume that that's what was taking place. I mean, I wonder if the smell was really heavily concentrated at the door or it just smelled like it was coming from everywhere. So let's go ahead and take a look at these drugs that he was pumping under the door. First, let's start with methadone. Methadone is a long-acting synthetic opioid medication that is used for two primary purposes: treating severe chronic pain and as a key part of treatment programs for opioid use disorder. So maybe in this dude's sick, twisted head, he thought, oh, I'm gonna be relieving the baby. Maybe the baby has some pain and I'm gonna pump this under the door so she stays quiet and is not in pain. Maybe I just jumped to conclusions assuming that he was trying to unalive this little girl. But instead, he was trying to help her. I wouldn't be surprised if that was his sick, twisted way of thinking. Now let's check out the other drug he was pumping under the door. Hydrocodone is a prescription semi-synthetic opioid medication used to treat moderate to severe pain and as a cough suppressant. But if you go down further, it says overdose risk. Taking too much hydrocodone or combining it with other central nervous system depressants can cause serious side effects, including slowed breathing, sedation, coma, and even death. And then if you scroll down a little further, it says pregnancy and breastfeeding. Prolonged use during pregnancy can cause life-threatening withdrawal symptoms in a newborn. Using while breastfeeding requires careful monitoring of the infant for increased sleepiness or breathing difficulties. So regardless of his intentions, whether it was to sedate the baby or to unalive it, that was a possibility nonetheless. No matter what, there was an actual possibility this baby would have passed away because of his foolish actions. And they're not just foolish actions. This is a sick, sadistic, twisted freak that deserves to be in jail. His actions almost took the life of not only the baby, but also the parents as well. And I'm just shocked and surprised that nobody in the lab where he goes to school noticed that there was some hydrocodone and methadone missing. I mean, he was able to take a vial and take some of those opioids. Opioids are a controlled substance. He would have to sign out the fact that he was using some of that. So the fact that he was able to steal it and take it home with him is even more wild. Eventually, this dude would have been found out. Let's just say the family never installed that security camera and saw that it was him. Eventually, the police would have had to get involved, or worse, somebody would have passed away. They would have done an investigation, saw the chemicals, and been like, damn, you know what? Somebody in this apartment complex is a chemist. So we're gonna go ask him some questions. Eventually, this dude would have been found out. And then the father, if he was still alive, could have been like, hey, he asked me to keep the noise down because my baby was crying. It's a potential that it might be him. Like, no matter what, this dude was gonna be found out. He didn't really think that one all the way through. Either the cops were gonna bust him, or the school was gonna notice that these opioids are missing.
Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
The suspect is identified as Xuming Li, who got his PhD in chemistry at the University of South Florida. A promising future ahead of him, now in jeopardy for one incredibly foolish act.
The chemistry student has pled not guilty. The family is looking for a new place to live.
Unfortunately, I have some bad news. 2 days after getting arrested, he was bailed out. And the only thing that happened to him is he got deported back to China. This man never faced the consequences of his actions. Could you imagine if this man unalived any one of those people and he was able to get away with it? You know damn well his ass is coming back to the States. This happened 2 years ago. With all the scam degrees, scam visas that they got going on, I wouldn't be surprised if this dude came back to the States under a new name and try to start all over again to get his PhD. I'm very disappointed. It doesn't matter that he got deported back. Now, the article does state if he comes back to the US under that same name, the warrant for his arrest could be activated and he will go to jail. But to be honest, if he does come back to the US, it's going to be under a different name, like I said. A new visa? They got all kinds of schemes and scams in China. I just watched a documentary saying how places like Africa, Europe, and especially China have all these fake degrees, fake visas, green cards, all these different things to try to scam their way into the United States. So I wouldn't be surprised if this dude comes back under a new name. And I also want to point out the fact that going back to China is not that bad. You have to remember, even if he got into college based on merit, so he got some type of scholarship or something like that, an exchange student, anything like that, the fact that his family was able to send him in general means that he comes from some type of money. He's not dirt broke poor somewhere in a Providence in China. This dude has to come from some type of privileged background. So he's gonna be all right regardless. And he still has his bachelor's, master's degrees, even though he didn't finish getting his PhD. So being deported wasn't any type of consequence. I'm pretty sure he has a backup plan. Yes, his family and parents are gonna be mad at him. You let the family down, but at the end of the day, there was no real consequence for this man. But any one of his patients or co-workers need to be on the lookout, because if they piss him off, he just might drug them. Well, that's it for the video. This was a wild ride, and I just hope for the worst for this guy, because that's unacceptable behavior no matter what. What if somebody did that to his child? I know he would be in an outrage. Let me know what you guys thought about the story down below. If I was in that situation and I found that dude on the camera, I would have called the police first and then went downstairs to go confront him, showing him I got his ass on video. And I'm sorry, I would have to put hands and feet on him because he was trying to take out my child. He was trying to take out me. I can't let that just go by and act like nothing's wrong and let the police deal with it. No, there has to be consequences. I would have to get some type of street justice for that. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad to do it. If there's another video that you guys want me to react to, make sure you leave it down below in the comments section. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.